Hello, my absolutely beautiful Pisces friends, and welcome to your horoscope for 2025, where Pisces, this year's horoscope video, this has been crafted by 5 brilliant astrologers, each of us experts in our own lane that we're going to talk about, right? So I went and got you the best of the best. And I want to tell you, we built it this year not for you to have information thrown at you. The world is changing. The energies are intense. We don't need more noise. We built this for you to have an experience with each different section. So I'm going to encourage you this year that, first of all, the timestamps are in the description box down below, okay? So you can click to each individual section, but to take it a section at a time. Eat this delicious cake one little section at a time and enjoy it, you know? Pop in your earphones while you're on the treadmill and listen to one section, you know, whatever. Just do it a little piece at a time and have your own personal experience with this, okay? Now, I'm going to take you through the general. Rachel Lang is going to come in and talk to you about your relationship dynamics and what is available for you there. We've got Sama taking you into the financial, and you are going to love him this year. I was blown away. Kira's bringing her medical magic to you, and at the end, we have got Tiffany walking us through the spiritual development. And I am telling you, we have charts, we have graphs, we have got it all. You will not leave your 2025 horoscope any version of confused about what is going on for the Pisces energy, okay? Now, keep in mind that the best astrology is always your astrology. So if you find that you are struggling in one of those areas, you can also click in the description box down below and reach out to the astrologer that specializes in that area. All right, Pisces, listen, Jupiter is moving into Cancer, fellow water energy for 2025. So now we know that we've got some ease of energy immediately that's available. But this is going to be an expansion of your social circles, who you're aligned with. You need to be aligned with people who make you not feel, but feel and know and sense in a deep intuition that you are loved and supported and nurtured where you are at. Now, we're also going to see that Saturn and Neptune are going to move into Aries, and I do think that this energy will help to create this space where you have a little bit more faith and a little bit more vision of what you would like to create for yourself financially, and then Saturn will help to stabilize that energy. And then we see Uranus moving into Gemini, shaking up the home life, and sometimes we just have to have a shake up so that we don't later on have to have a shake down, okay? So we are going to jump in right now, Pisces, and take a look at what the transits and what your whole delicious year has to offer for you. Pisces, as we are coming into 2025, we want to keep in mind that Pluto is going to be moving for its stay into the vibration of Aquarius. Now, it's been dancing in and out, Aquarius back into Capricorn, and now we're going to be here for the stay. So as we're going to be traveling through 2025, moving all the way until 2043, we're going to have Pluto working through Aquarius, lighting up your 12th house space. Now, first of all, wherever Pluto is at, we're really facing themes about death. We're facing themes about things dying off, going away. There's a lot of deep psychological transformation that is involved in here. It's about introspection and renewal. You know, these hidden aspects of our psyche or of our unconscious begin to surface. And what the impetus here is that we're encouraged to confront it, confront the fear. Look at that past trauma, release that past trauma, embrace the spiritual transformation, right? It's a full-on call to explore your subconscious, but also to heal the unresolved patterns that are there holding you back. So one of the things to keep in mind as this transit continues to unfold in your world a lot more is that embrace the solitude, embrace the introspection during the times where it feels like you really need that. It's a great time as Pluto is moving through your 12th house to realize that there are fears, there are habits that are no longer serving your growth, right? And it is really an act of trust to go through the transformation as these things are being cleaned out of your 12th house space. And some examples I just wanted to give you, because sometimes the 12th house can be this place where we just like shove everything back there, but it's all of these things that happen behind the scenes, right? We see them without people knowing. There's karmic patterns that live there. And there's a lot of space for navigation in this particular area. So first of all, I really want you to think about your personal growth. I want you to think about your spiritual awakening, you know, and for some of you, it will be that you decide to go on a retreat, you host a retreat, you do a silent meditation, you bring in a daily practice of mindfulness, something like this, whatever it is, it's about revealing this pattern of hidden fears, maybe unresolved emotions, some karmic energy. Things have happened with childhood trauma, anything that's lingering, maybe grief is lingering. And what's happening as you go through this is that you're learning to accept these parts of yourself, right? You're not pushing them away anymore. Maybe they were previously suppressed. And this is going to lead to what we ultimately want. Yes, the personal empowerment, but also this is the 12th house. So it's also going to be greater self-compassion as well. So there's a lot of energy that goes into that. The other thing that you can be paying attention to in the 12th house is releasing anything that are addictions or maybe unhealthy coping mechanisms that you have. So if you realize, yep, I've been using substances, I've been using overworking or some kind of other distraction to avoid confronting what's going on, especially deep emotional wounds, this transit is going to push you in the position to either, you've got to join the group, you got to go to the group, maybe you got to go to AA, maybe you got to go to therapy, maybe you have to go to workaholism, gambling, maybe it is a cancer survivor group, right? Something like this. This Aquarian vibration is going to push you towards a group probably in some way to lead you to release these habits, okay? So just keep in mind as the 12th house is unfolding that this is what we're going for. This is the end goal, even though it can feel like in the middle, it's a lot to process. Now, we are coming into 2025 with our foot on the brakes because we're coming in with Mars in retrograde Pisces. Now, Mars is going to start out its retrograde here as we're coming into 2025 in the sign of Leo. This is lighting up your 6th house space. Now, Mars has been retrograde since December 6th, so we've had a good month of working with this, but crossing that calendar line of 2025, I just don't want you to think that it's like new year, new me, and you're running through, 2025. That's just not it at all. Instead, we're coming in really doing a reassessment of the 6th house, which is your work routines, your health habits, your daily health habits, your level of productivity. It's also going to be things just related to work, to coworkers, how you take care of your body. Mars here in the 6th house is this going to highlight this need to reevaluate those daily routines. How do you do your work? How do you approach your work? How are you actually doing and approaching your health routine? Now, Mars is still Mars, so you can experience frustration or delays, especially if it's something in your professional life. I've been putting out these applications for jobs, or I've been waiting to hear back on that promotion. Maybe you've been wanting to join the gym or get a personal trainer or go to that doctor, and you are held up or there's delays. So what this gives you an opportunity to do is be very Martian, but retrograde. You're going to reprioritize or refine your strategy so that you can still get done what you need to get done even while you're waiting. Now, the one thing I would tell you is while Mars is retrograde, if you can't avoid taking on any new commitments, like especially big commitments or big health practices, while Mars is in retrograde, I think you'll feel better about deciding to commit to it and take it on after Mars leaves retrograde in February. Now, on January 7th, Mars is going to take that retrograde show on the road and push back into the vibration of Cancer, lighting up your 5th house space. Okay, as we see Mars moving through your 5th house space now, first of all, this is the house of self-expression, pleasure, play, creativity, romance. Children live in this house as well, okay? So as Mars is taking a tour through this 5th house, your attention is being brought back to creative projects, maybe how you express your joy, any kind of romantic dynamics with your children or things that your children are going through. So if you feel like you have, this like lack of motivation in pursuing one of these areas, or you're meeting challenges, or there's challenges even in a young new relationship that you're in, just remember that this transit is asking you to just slow down. It's the encouragement to just reflect on what's really going on here. Are you really fulfilled in this relationship? Where can you infuse a bit more joy? And again, I would encourage you until Mars comes out of retrograde on the 23rd, maybe you don't start that really big creative project. Maybe this romantic endeavor that you're going on, you let it boil just a little bit longer and focus instead here, Pisces, rediscover What really brought you joy in the past? What past joys? What past relationship tensions can you let go of that would open up space for joy? That's really how the Mars retrograde can be of service, okay? And when we get to January 11th, we're going to see the true North Node moving into your sign, so lighting up the space of Pisces, your first house, which means that the South Node is going to be in Virgo and it'll be over in the 7th house. Now, we're going to work with this all throughout 25 and into 2026. Now, as the North Node is traveling in Pisces, in your first house, in your sign, it's calling us in the means of destiny. It's saying focus on your individuality, focus on your intuition, focus on your self-expression, focus on how you move your body in your relationships and out in the external world as well. Meanwhile, that South Node in Virgo in the 7th house is going to encourage you to take a look at how you show up in your relationships, right? Is there a lot of perfectionism going on? Is there over-analysis or analysis paralysis in your relationships where you're just like, I'm thinking so much about my relationships. What do they need from me? How can I be better? This relationship's not perfect enough. I'm looking for external validation. All of these kinds of things where you're really going to be pushed to integrate these two axes where you have inner contentment and then you bring that into a relationship and all of the conscious chosen relationships that you're in, right? So you want that balance of the dynamic. So as we're going to travel with the nodes, and don't worry, there will be a separate video just on the nodes themselves, I want you to take the opportunity to shift your mindset, shift your heart into position to embrace opportunities, to explore who are you now? Who is the current version of you? What is your actual pants and waist size? What is your style? What do you like? How do you feel about your intuition? Do you trust yourself? Do you believe in yourself today, Pisces, right? And let go of some of the tendencies to prioritize other people's needs over your own, especially if you don't have a self-care practice, right? It's a great time to be empowered in this way. When we get to March 1st, we're going to see Venus retrograding in the vibration of Aries, lighting up your second house space. Now, the second house has your attention. Finances, relationships, values, and self-worth will have your attention here. Definitely in 2025, just like they did in the way that the nodal axis was traveling for us in 2024, okay? But Venus retrograde here in your second house, this is going to bring our attention and call our focus into your financial habits, your personal values. What do you value now? Why is that important to you? Why do you value that? How you perceive your worth, because this will also tell you a lot about how you're going to go out and make money with your creative skills and talents, right? How you're valuing yourself will probably tell us a lot about what you do with the finances and the relationships that are coming and going from your life. So if you feel compelled during this Venus retrograde to really reassess your spending patterns and your budgets and your investments, your income resources, any of those kinds of things, your relationships, I think it is in alignment here to be very Venusian about it. Question what truly brings you joy. And I mean that statement, brings. What brings, because Venus wants things to come to it, brings you security, what brings you satisfaction, what brings you joy, right? Now, of course, with Venus retrograde, I'm going to suggest that you avoid making any significant financial decisions during this retrograde, because typically what happens is during the retrograde, we make the decision or the romance of our life comes in and it's the best thing we've ever done. And then Venus goes out of retrograde and comes direct and we're like, that's not exactly what I thought it was. So maybe use this time to reflect a little bit more about the money. If something comes in, give it some time to simmer and make better decisions, especially in alignment with your financial and value goals on the other side of that Venus retrograde. All right, when we get to March 14th, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse. This is happening in Virgo. So we're starting our cleanup, our eclipsing, our resetting in the relationship house for you, okay? The full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. So this eclipse in your 7th house, it's a turning point. It's time to pivot in your relationships. And your relationships in the 7th house are conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships. You've picked these people to have a significant role in your life, and you know who they are. So it's a business partner, a marriage, a mentor, It's maybe somebody you have an open court case with. It's you with yourself, right? So if you are feeling at this particular eclipse, and the eclipse energy lasts about 6 months, if you're feeling need to release partnerships or patterns in partnerships that are no longer mutually serving the growth, that's going to be the thing to do, because what you're going to be looking to do, Virgo wants it to be perfect, wants it to be the best, but more than importantly, it wants it to be healthier. We want healthy dynamics in those relationships, right? So this is going to be a great time at this particular lunation where, regardless of how it feels, what is happening is you're gaining clarity about what your needs are in a relationship, what are the other person's needs as well, and setting your intentions on how you can help each other be in the right mutual understanding, okay? Now, on the 29th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse. This one's happening in Aries. So we've done a lot of work in the second house in the Aries area of your chart. And this new moon solar eclipse is the marking of a fresh start. Plant your seeds of intention here. You know, what do you want to start in your material life? What do you want to start in your financial life? Because this is the ideal time to set those intentions for improving your income. Maybe redefining what your values are, and this helps you redefine your income. Building a stronger foundation for worth in general, worth, wealth, self-worth. If you feel inspired under this new moon to go out, and over the next 6 months, you're exploring new income opportunities, new wealth ideas, or you're like reevaluating your things where you're like, I really don't need to have this much stuff to be happy. You're literally in this space where you're like letting go because it doesn't bring you security anymore, and you're making space for the opportunities to grow your financial stability that align more with the material and the value goals that you have in mind right now. Now, when we get to March 30th, we'll see Neptune move into the vibration of Aries again into the second house, and Neptune here can bring this dreamy spiritual kind of quality to this area, to your financial life, to your material life, your relationship life, right? So if you feel a bit more drawn to explore your finances from a spiritual perspective, because money and spirituality do mix when they are in the right relation to one another, I think that this will be a time where you're looking at do or how my finances can align with my higher values, right? This could be a time too where you're like, I'm building a retreat center. I wouldn't even be surprised, Pisces, whatsoever. Now, you do need to be mindful, as Neptune's going to be here for a very long transit, right? That Neptune can also create confusion or unrealistic expectations in money matters. Now, we're not getting the full transit of Neptune and Aries. There will still be some bouncing back into your sign, into Pisces. So I think you do still have some time to work on it and to get that grounding underneath you. Now, to help that grounding, May 24th, we'll see Saturn move into Aries, and Saturn is going to come and say, nope, we're bringing structure, we're bringing discipline to this financial life, right? Because a Saturn transit is going to encourage you to take a practical approach to earning money, saving money, doing those investments, managing your resources, getting more mature about your value, you know? So the thing I like about the Saturn transit in the midst of all of these other energies, including Neptune working in your second house, is that as you're taking on these responsibilities for creating a different financial life for yourself, one, you're doing it in a way where nobody's really making you anymore. You're like, yeah, no, I'm responsible for this. And you feel better about creating long-term success and plans for yourself to have this material stability. And I really like that for you. Now, when we get to June 29th, we see Jupiter moving into Cancer, that fellow water energy. And Jupiter in the fifth house of this creativity, joy, romance, things with your children. Jupiter here is an opportunity energy, but you have to go to the opportunity, right? So it's an opportunity for growth. You may be going to grow or expand out some self-expressive creative project that you've been working on, or a project. Maybe you're starting a new business. The fifth house is great for conception, all sorts of conception of babies, conception of ideas, conception of projects. Maybe there's something going on in your romantic life, Certainly things expanding out for your children. Maybe they're beginning their own journeys away from home, away from mom, away from dad, right? So these could be things that you're seeing start to show up on your radar. Now you can also go back in your life 12 years ago, Pisces. What was going on when Jupiter was in this area of your chart 12 years ago? Now you may also feel a bit inspired to take on, this is, I think, kind of fun and funny, but different romantic connections. You're like, yeah, I want to make a home with someone who's far away from here, and you're literally calling some romantic foreign connection to you, you know what I mean? Or you're wanting to express yourself in places that are outside of your normal spheres. Like maybe you're from Canada and you're like, I really want to teach in Costa Rica. We can see meaningful connections to things like this showing up as well. Now, June 15th, Jupiter is going to square against Saturn, and then just a couple of days later on the 19th, it'll square against Neptune. Now, as Jupiter is squaring against Saturn, first of all, there's going to be this highlight of this tension between, I have these creative aspirations, right? But also I'm trying to meet my financial goals. So the challenge becomes here, how do I balance my personal joy and my personal expression, this pleasure we're speaking of, with really practical considerations? So you're going to be really prompted and pushed here to find some harmony between those areas. But as Jupiter is squaring against Neptune here, that tension to have this idealistic, creative, or romantic freedom that you're also looking for, it gets like you get creative in how you're going to do it while also maintaining your financial stability, right? So maybe this aspect you've been like, I have to find a balance here, and you're feeling inspired to move towards a passion that you have, and you're like, yeah, but what if I started small? It doesn't have to be as big as I'm thinking that it needs to be. You're more mindful of it. And it can also be a time, I will tell you, especially as we're traveling throughout June and July, where you have to watch boundaries. You're like, no, I really do have this creative project I want to take on, but I have to be able to pay my rent. If I'm not paying my rent, I either need to find a way to make some more money, or I need to draw a boundary and say, okay, we can build it really slowly, right? All right, July 7th brings Uranus into Gemini, lighting up this fourth house space. Now, Uranus here, first of all, the fourth house is home, family, real estate, property, your roots, your own inner emotional foundation. So as Uranus comes and brings a lightning bolt to this area of your life, it brings excitement, unpredictability, unexpected family changes, or unexpected family changes that are like the dynamics of your family can be here as well. For some of you, it'll be very, very practical. You will move home, or someone will move in or out of your home, right? Either way, Uranus is coming to break up this energy. It's like, ooh, this has been in a rut. Let me shake this up. So you may feel really, again, Pisces, inspired to explore. Maybe it's even an unconventional living place or an unconventional living arrangement. But whatever it is, the goal here is there's going to be brand new ways of connecting with your family members or connecting with your roots, okay? Because this transit really does encourage, first of all, be flexible. Let's see this from a different perspective, and let's be open to the changes that can be created in our domestic space. Now, when we get to July 31st, we see Saturn and Neptune come together in their conjunction in Aries. Again, this is in your second house. And this combination, I actually like it because it brings Saturn's discipline along with Neptune's vision. So it encourages you here, right? This is an encouragement. And it's like, okay, let's align the financial life with the spiritual values that we have. Again, it's this place where I say spirituality and money can mix as long as spirituality comes first. So if you're starting to feel inspired where you're like, okay, I do want to build the retreat center, or I want to teach at the retreat center, or, I want to build a recovery house, something like that, right? You're like, okay, I am inspired to manifest this dream, but I'm going to use practical methods to build the foundation really solid so that I can get it done. And that way, it's going to support both the material and the spiritual growth as well. All right, September 7th brings us to the full moon lunar eclipse that's happening in your sign, so in that first house. And this is again going to be a time where we are eclipsed. You're asked to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, okay? And so it's a culmination of a variety in your emotional growth, in your self-awareness and what you've learned, releasing the old identities that don't serve you, releasing those habits that are not in alignment with your true self anymore. So it's a really powerful time for you at this eclipse, and to remember you're being blotted out. You're going to be reset. So embrace it. Step into what you've been able to let go of and move forward with a different portion of your journey. But have no doubt you will be eclipsed, okay? We've got the new moon on September 21st. This is happening in Virgo, so lighting up again that 7th house. Now, we started out the beginning of the year cleaning and weeding out the garden, and now we're going to plant the fruits and veggies that you want to grow. So this is your mark for your fresh start in your relationships, in your partnerships. It's an ideal time to plant your seeds of intention, to first of all create harmony, create blessings, create balance in your connections. How can you be of service in your relationships without being in servitude, right? Deepen existing partnerships or form new ones that really do align more with your values, but focus on building something that's meaningful, that's supportive. Establish those clear boundaries and create those partnerships that are like, this is good for both of us. It's not just one way or I'm just holding on, right? The eclipse is really going to encourage you to prioritize that balance and making these relationships the very best that they can possibly be. Now, again, we're going to talk about all of these transits individually as we're traveling it throughout 2025 so we can really put eyes on them. But for now, I want to hand you over to the beautiful Miss Rachel Lang so she can talk you all through your relationship energy as it relates to 2025.
Hello, Pisces. Welcome to your horoscope for love and relationships for 2025. I'm Rachel Lang. I'm an astrologer, author, and teacher. And I am excited to share with you some information, hopefully some guiding information about your year ahead and what it means for you in terms of your romantic life, in terms of your friendships, just in terms of how you engage with other people. And I just have to start by saying, you of all signs have the most energy coursing through the universe to you right now. I'm sure you've heard from the other astrologers in this series. The North Node is moving through your sign this year. That means there's a lot of attention coming to you, a lot of focus coming to you. And what you do with it, how you receive it, that is your choice. But one of the ways we're going to see this play out is in your relationships, in your romantic relationships in particular. Those times around the eclipse, so that's March and September, so your birthday season and then 6 months later, those are especially crucial times for you when you could make a relationship change. And if you're single, you might be listening to this and thinking, oh my gosh, give me some good news. I want to meet somebody. And that's a possibility during when we go through eclipse cycles. They tend to catalyze the kind of changes that need to happen in order for us to live a more fulfilling, purposeful life. And if relationships fall into that for you and they're a part of your purpose, then we could be seeing some doors opening right around that time. And I have some visual aids here. So let's go ahead and get into this. Here is just an overview of the transits that we're looking at for this year. First of all, we have some shifting currents. The outer planets are changing signs. It's all kicked off with Pluto moving into Aquarius in 2024, November of 2024. And then Saturn and Neptune and Uranus are all going to follow suit, moving back and forth between their respective signs in 2025 and finally landing in 2026. So there's a lot of motion, a lot of energy of change. It's like everyone's getting their unique marching orders from the universe and moving to the places where they need to be moving, whether that's in relationships, whether that's in career, whether that's in their homes and where they live. There's a lot of fluctuation. And so things don't feel as settled this year as they would otherwise, which means there's a lot of potential for you to be in creativity, to be in envisioning new possibilities for yourself. And in relationships, that's especially true because you're going to a reset place where you really get to choose what it is you want. All of the focus and all of the energy is going to be aimed on you with that North Node in your sign. And so you really can rise up into leadership and embrace new opportunities. But that means that your relationships could be in fluctuation, or you might have other priorities that involve your self-determination versus taking care of the needs of your partner or being in a relationship in general. At the same time, with Jupiter in Cancer, romance is heightened for you, especially in the second half of the year. And so, if one of your goals and one of your dreams and desires is to have a committed relationship, a beautiful, loving partnership, I think there are some windows of time this year that could open that up for it to happen in a way that it couldn't have happened before because of all you've been through and the heart healing, heart opening, heart expanding that has happened for you just over the last couple of years. It's a year where relationships are in the spotlight. We've got Venus retrograde, we've got Mars retrograde, and those are our relationship planets. So everybody's questioning things about the way that they interact with other people, about their needs in love. And so yeah, so there's a lot of fluctuation, and we're going to go ahead and start with Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde kicks off the year. Mars is the planet that relates to our passion, it's our desire, it's our chemistry in relationships. And when Mars is going retrograde, it's a time when we're much more aware of the annoyances of our partners or the people who are closest to us. And so we want to keep that in mind because sometimes those little tiny frustrations can build up. And if you haven't been expressing anger or frustration or annoyance, if you haven't been expressing those things, then the little tiny sparks of fire can build up into something much bigger. And you could have created this whole story for yourself about how the relationship isn't going to work, you're too different. That might be true, but you also might just need to diffuse some of that frustration and some of that fire. You might just need to speak about things in small increments along the way, really sharing your feelings, sharing what's on your heart, and opening yourself up to being vulnerable. Mars goes retrograde from Leo to Cancer. So it moves into Cancer in January. And when it goes back into Cancer, so it's there until February, when it goes the whole second half of the retrograde, when it's in Cancer, this is a time when you're much more aware of romance and the ways in which you're getting your romantic needs met and the ways you're not. And so a couple of things that might be helpful. One, really know your partner's or your lover's love languages. Because if you're not feeling loved, if you're not feeling connected, the chances are that your partner in a romantic relationship or whoever you're dating, maybe it's just someone you're dating, a boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe they don't know how to speak your love language. And so you might have to teach them, you might have to show them. And if you don't really feel like you have the energy for that, then try to speak theirs or really use this time as an opportunity to reflect or readjust your relationships. I think we could see a lot of separations, a lot of breakups, a lot of people coming together in magical ways through synchronicities, people reconnecting with people from their past, lovers, exes. This is the first half of the year, but really the first quarter of the year is a lot of getting our romantic ducks in a row. One thing about Mars retrograde cycles is that we can be a little bit more passive aggressive during those times. And be aware of that. Know that can be a tendency, and it's better to just be direct and state what you are concerned about and work out the challenges than letting things build and then having this like covert resentment in your relationships. Neptune and Saturn are the big players this year. They're both moving from your sign, Pisces, to Aries. And in some ways, this gives you a little bit of a break. Let's talk about each one of them individually. So Neptune is the planet that relates to our ideals, our dreams, our fantasies. and the ways that those fantasies don't come to fruition, which can make them illusions, or we can become disillusioned. Neptune is like this bubble, this magical bubble that is so beautiful, that is full of prisms and colors, but that is easy to pop. And Saturn is the planet that relates to the security measures that we put in place to support the dreams. And so Saturn and Neptune have this real interesting balance and symbiosis. Saturn being the framework for that dream house. We can't manifest what we most desire without the tangibility of Saturn. And so Saturn has been asking you to really make commitments, and it continues to do that throughout 2025 and a little bit into 2026. But it gives you a break so that you can look back and see the commitments that you've made and assess whether or not they are fulfilling, whether there were some red flags that you overlooked, or maybe you want to rethink them. And so when they're moving into Aries, a lot of the focus of your thoughts and your energy is going to go from this process of building, construction, ideating to the questions around worthiness and self-love and deservingness. It's one thing to set an intention for a relationship and to draw one into your life, but if you can't maintain that really healthy sense of self and that sense of I am worthy of love, then the relationship cannot ultimately provide the love that is missing. Like, you have to replenish your own well and build up that reserve of love so that then you're just attracting at that vibration. You're attracting at that level someone who can hold that, who can see you as you are, and who can treat you with the level of love and respect, desire, and that you deserve. So Saturn and Neptune are asking you to really do that self-reflection. And Venus retrograde does too. Venus is going retrograde, starting in Aries, going back into Pisces from March 1st to April 12th. And this retrograde cycle starts with those questions of self-love, self-nurturance, self-worth, standing up and saying, this is me, this is what I want. And then it goes back into Pisces. And so you're walking this path between asserting a sense of personal desire that would lead to fulfillment and lead to greater experiences of connection and love. But then when it goes back into Pisces, there's this sense of, but how do I know what's mine and what's another's? That empathic sort of universality that the sign of Pisces has can inspire feelings of the absence of ego or the absence of self. And so you want to remember to really reach into your own awareness, really feeling your own wants, needs, desires from your core. I say this because everybody's going to be going through this to a certain extent, which means that you might be aware of your lover, your partner being more selfish. And that's not an invitation for you to overcompensate, bend over backwards, do more. It's almost like a mirror image of what's called for during this transit, during this time. But you really are reestablishing your priorities. You're rethinking what matters to you. And so that's going to have an implication for your relationships because you and your partner might be prioritizing different things. And so you might experience this separation, moving apart, pulling in your own individuated desires and selves in order to come back together and say, hey, this is what I discovered about myself, and how can we balance our own personal needs with the needs of our relationship and with our time and space together. The eclipses are also happening in March. March is one of those months this year where all of the energy is up. We have Venus retrograde, we have the eclipses, we have Mercury retrograde too, from March 14th to April 7th. And this Mercury retrograde is also from the Aries Pisces axis line. So lots of movement from Pisces to Aries, and then back with the outer planets back to Pisces from Aries. So if you're born toward the end of Pisces season, so right around like between March 17th and March 21st, you're especially going to feel the opportunities with these transits, but also some of the conflicts with these transits as well. I want to talk about that lunar eclipse on March 13th. And what you'll see here is we have Saturn and the Sun both right next to each other in your sign. And so remember, Saturn's commitment. Saturn's the glue that makes a relationship work. And the Sun is the primary sense of self. It's the I am essence. And so here we have Saturn asking you to dedicate yourself to something or perhaps to someone. The moon in your opposite sign shows you all of the realities of the people in your life. The red flags that you weren't able to see at the start of a relationship now become visible. The little hiccups in the way that you communicate with one another starting to come out and surface in a way that begs you to not ignore it. This is not one of those times when you can just shove things under the rug, because there's too much of an opportunity for you to have what you want, to really settle for what you don't want. There's a lot of influence here, again, on self-love, on healing the heartbreaks of the past. And that healing is exaggerated here on the solar eclipse of the 29th. And here you have movement. So you're not just standing still, being a passive observer in your relationships. You're actually sitting down to the table and saying, these are the problems. Here's what we can do to make them better. And forgiveness is a really big theme with this transit as well. And so maybe you are at a place where you want to give someone another chance. Retrograde cycles can be times when people are coming back into our life in a significant way. But before you make any kind of major commitments, or before you invite a relationship with an ex back into your life, it's important to keep your eyes wide open. Know that retrograde cycles, eclipse cycles, everything feels really big and feels really urgent, and we have to do it now. But after the retrograde and a couple of months after the eclipse, the dust settles and you have more clarity. So you don't have to make any kind of major moves. This is especially true if your partner is asking you to cohabitate, or if they want to open the relationship or make any kind of change that's going to affect your day-to-day experience of the relationship. You don't have to say yes or no. You can say, can I give it some time? On August 9th, we have Mars opposite Neptune, and we have also Mars opposite Saturn. And this could be a time when it's like a tidal wave. So all of the feelings and all of the unfinished business that have been in the relationship comes up to the surface and washes away clean. And by August 11th, we have Venus meeting up with Jupiter. And this transit is one of the most romantic transits of the year. And it opens the doors to your heart. It plucks those heartstrings. It allows you to connect with someone. So the couple of days before that might just be like the shifting currents that are needed in order to get you to where you can be open to love. I find that sometimes we can have contrast where it's like a good thing is about to happen and this new commitment is about to come, or someone's about to come into your life. But before that change takes place, there has to be a little bit of conflict or a little bit of chaos, just stirring things up to get you ready to generate the emotions and the energy needed for that change. And so here we have Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer from July 9th of 2025 to July 29th of 2026 is sweet for your love life. And especially if you're single, Jupiter magnifies and expands what it comes in contact with. And it is touching your heart. It is touching your creativity. It is actually inspiring some fertility too, because it's in a water sign. If you're wanting to create a family, if you're wanting to do something with your partner, this is the time to be setting those goals and to be clearing out the calendar so that you have the time and the space to make it happen. One of the biggest takeaways for any kind of Jupiter transit, when it's in a favorable trine aspect or a conjunction, or it's touching your chart in a nice way, one of the biggest things that you can do is say no to what doesn't work or what's just mediocre, so that you can stay open and have space for the beautiful evolutions and opportunities that come into your life. Mercury retrograde is another one of those times when our relationships are under a microscope and we're aware of the ways in which we're not communicating with our partner or that we could be doing better. Mercury retrograde cycles are times when we're going way back into the past and we're course correcting. It's like we're taking old books out of our Akashic records or out of our own soul's libraries. We're checking them out, we're proofreading them, we're seeing, does this still belong here? And we're discarding what doesn't belong so that we can make room for new memories, new relationships, new experiences. And this is especially true in the March Mercury retrograde, which goes from Aries to Pisces, your sign. If you are born in mid-March 17th to about March, then this actually 22nd, right around the middle of March, this retrograde is a time real reflection, introspection. It's a time to really recalibrate your own sense of self. Then we have the September eclipses, and you want to mark these on your calendar because all relationships are going through a healing journey. Healing because we're talking about the sign of Neptune, and Neptune does bring up the emotions that we haven't been willing to look at or we haven't been able to. And so here's a time where a lot of regrets, remorse, pain can come up to the surface in order to let it dissolve and leave space for true heart connections, for opening to more vulnerability. And one thing that I wanted to point out with this one is that we have transiting Saturn and Neptune coming together. So Neptune is the planet of our dreams. It's our fantasies. It's what we most desire. It's our romantic notions. And Saturn is the planet of building a framework for those dreams, building a foundation for romance, and inspiring commitments. And when these two planets come together, we can have two things happen. One, we become very realistic about those dreams. So the ones that aren't going to culminate or come together, we can go through a period of our dreams being killed or having some grief around that. But then Saturn says, wait a second, let's see where we can meet what you desire, your romantic notions, your fantasies, your dreams, with what's practical and tangible for your life. And so you can really bridge that gap and start making some commitments and decisions about what you'd like for your love life moving forward. The eclipse on September 21st is a time of clarity with all of that. So we have Neptune and Saturn right there, and they are the apex of a kite aspect pattern. We see it between Pluto and Uranus and Mercury and the sun and moon here too. It's a dissociate trine. And then we have that opposition with the sun and the moon at the 29th degree, which is a critical degree of Virgo, and Saturn, which is the 28th degree. There's another critical anaretic degree of Pisces. And so we have a lot of endings, a lot of saying goodbye, a lot of letting go, and a real sense of clarity about where it is we want to be and where we're moving. And so here is a time that puts a lot of pressure on our relationships because not everyone can be everything for us. And so this is a period of reevaluating some of those connections and also really taking a stand, especially if you've questioned whether or not love is for you, or you have been in a relationship and things are feeling flat. This is a turnaround point, but it doesn't have to unfold all at one time impulsively. There can be a shift that's generated over several months because eclipses tend to have staying power, and the effects of an eclipse, we usually feel them for several months after the eclipse, but I find that there's about a 4-month period of time where the storylines of the eclipse, so whatever events and thoughts and feelings are happening at the eclipse, there's about a 4-month period of time where there's an adjustment. And that's often when we see conclusions or we see a manifestation based on that event. Then Uranus is in Gemini, and for you, this has implications for your home life. And one example I see when people have Uranus in a challenging aspect relationship with their son, or in their fourth house, or somehow related to their home or family, sometimes what I can see is it's like when the landlord sells the building and the new landlord comes in and says, you know what, we have to have everybody out. We're going to do some major renovations. And then you're left with these choices of, do I pay more for a new place or do I move to a new city? That's a story I hear on a regular basis here in California, where I live. And so here you have a change that's introduced that feels like it's coming from outside of you, and maybe it is, but it's also coming from an internal craving for a change and a need to move somewhere new and establish a new paradigm, a new habit, a new group of friends, establish some newness in your life. And so here you have both the contrast of this is uncomfortable and the excitement of, but I want this. And so anything that happens for you in that period of time from July 7th to November 8th, let that be a time of curiosity, creative innovation, and really rely on technology to help to steer you toward a new destination. Uranus dips into Gemini from July 7th to November 8th, and then it goes back into Taurus for a little while, and then it fully moves into Gemini on April 25th of 2026, and it starts a 7-year cycle. So it'll be there until 2032. And then November features a lovely grand trine. And actually, you feel this all through mid-November. And it's a time of healing. It's a time of coming together. This is a sweet time for relationships. It's a time when you can get cozy with someone and have some, someone's pulling your heartstrings. There's a sweetness about the connections you have. This can also be a time of fertility. This can be a time of healing family patterns and family dynamics that may have an influence in your relationships, like relationships with in-laws, for example. This can also be a time when you're planting seeds, either metaphoric or literal, for things that you would like to come to fruition in 2026. And we end the year in a grounded Capricorn season. So Capricorn really solidifies all of the visions and the dreams and the potential that you feel, but it also gives you a reprieve because let's face it, there's a lot of activity happening this year and you're caught right in the mix of it. So here's your mood board. And you have friendships. So those heart-to-heart connections, really deep connections this year. Marriage, commitment. This is a year where you can take your relationship to a whole new level if that's what you desire. Or you can invite people into your life in a way that feels very heart-centered. It's a year of needing to find a lighthouse in the middle of the storm in the beginning of the year, but also being a lighthouse for others. It's also a year of fertility. It's a year where you can bring new life, whether that's through a book, whether that's through a new beginning in your relationship, or whether that's actually through starting a family or adopting a pet, adopting a child. And then also it's a year where there's a lot of attention coming to you. And so own it, feel it, receive it. You have the real ability to open your arms and say, okay, universe, I'm ready for goodness to flow. And okay, my partner, my loves, I'm ready to receive the love that you have available for me. And what's great about this time is that you don't have to go immediately into service. You can sit back and just let it come, knowing that there's a divine balance, knowing that you're a part of someone else's experience of generosity. And so I think that's the opportunity that's available for you. What do you think? Post your comments below, offer some questions if you'd like. I'll be checking this on a periodic basis so we can continue the conversation. But Pisces, I know it's going to be a year that you won't forget. And I'm right here cheering you on. I think you've got some really great things to look forward to.
Pisces, you guys have the North Node moving in the first house of you. And so there's a focus on stepping into your financial independence. And so you might feel called to take the charge of your financial future by prioritizing investments, savings, or even starting your own business. This is a time to trust your instincts about where to place your resources and how to manage your finances based on your personal values rather than external pressures. Spiritual and purpose-driven investments look good to me here for you guys. And so this indicates that financial success can come from aligning your investments and monetary goals with your spiritual beliefs and your life purpose. And this can look like you guys are drawn to support causes, businesses, or ventures that resonate with your desire to contribute to the greater good, whatever that means to you. So that might look like ESG or green energy in some cases. In other cases, that's socially responsible businesses. In some cases, for some of you, that might be medical mushrooms or marijuana or wellness industries. A lot of these can yield not only financial returns, but more so the personal fulfillment, especially if you're patient. This also relates to self-development, and this is what I'd say for all Pisces is really key here. So it's really encouraging you to invest in yourself. Consider putting money into education, personal development, or wellness programs that will help you grow in the long term. So this could mean spending money on a course that enhances your career prospects, or even making health-related investments that contribute to your long-term well-being, which really allows you to maintain your productivity and financial stability. And so relying on your intuition in financial decisions, that's not really something the typical person in finance or financial advisor would say. Not that I'm here to give you financial advice. But the thing about Pisces is that it's an intuitive sign. And so this is where you might naturally find yourself more inclined to rely on your intuition as it relates to financial matters. Is that the best thing to do, though? Well, it really depends on your chart personally. What are the aspects to the first house or to you in Pisces? What condition is Jupiter in? Is Jupiter trining the ascendant? Is Jupiter in the second house? Some of that's going to be very individual. But generally speaking, while logic and planning are important and are encouraged, and I have a 2025 yearly report that goes into the trajectory of the year in terms of when the market's likely to be up or down, or which stocks or sectors are going to do well too. But 2025 can bring you moments where trusting your gut and going with a flow-based approach, Pisces, can actually lead to financial opportunities. So just pay attention to subtle cues, synchronicities, gut feelings, or signs within your life that guide you towards decisions that really feel intuitively right. And if you're familiar with how your intuition works, that advice will work best for you. If you're not really that familiar with how it works, then, we want to be careful of avoiding escapism when it comes to money. And this is for all of us here, all Pisces here, in the sense that Pisces energy can sometimes lead to escapism or avoiding practical realities. Okay, so it's important to stay grounded. Whatever we get an intuitive hunch for, can we back that up with some research? Whether that's booking a session with me or another advisor or someone you trust, or going online and doing the research that's needed. We want to be aware of making overly optimistic financial decisions without doing the necessary research. And then Neptune's going to join the North Node here in the house of you and exacerbate that as well. Okay, so it's really about finding success in creative ventures that can involve art, design, media, or other creative industries like film or music. If you have artistic talents or innovative ideas, maybe you can monetize them through freelancing, through selling creative works. This is with you, so you need to push and be initiative here a bit here. And financial growth can really come through embracing your unique creative strengths. We just don't want to sign on deals or partner with people who are lying to you or making you go down the path of things that are too good to be true. Mars is going to move direct in Cancer in your fifth house. This has been here for the past couple of months at the end of 2024. This is actually trining the first house, which is nice. Mars is direct energy, moving direct at the end of February, wants to encourage you to take bold, calculated risk with speculative investments. So this might be a time where you might see, if you're invested in the market, that your portfolio is actually doing well, or you might actually want to make some short-term decisions in terms of the market. Be careful that they're not too emotional, because Mars is in the fall position in Cancer, but I do like that this is trining the first house, but it is squaring the second. So we want to be careful. This could look like stocks, cryptocurrencies. Mars wants to boost your confidence and willing to act, but just be careful that this won't be damaging for you towards the long term. Now, as it relates to creative ventures and projects, if you've been considering starting one, Mars will give you the energy to move forward. And so this transit's really good for turning hobbies or creative passions into a source of income. Now, you might be very emotional about this passion project, and that might make you personally attached to the outcome, which might affect how successful you can be, either for the better or worse. This is also interesting for entrepreneurial pursuits for some of you guys, where I can see this link to you starting or kicking off a business venture, kicking off a new product, or building a brand. And this will give you the drive to push through the challenges that come through. And if you have any children, this can be good for investing in their future, whether it's putting money aside, a college fund, or spending money on their piano lessons or talents or extracurriculars that they care about. Then in March, we're looking at a full moon eclipse in Virgo in the 7th house of others. So this can lead to a significant partnership or promotion within structured industries like healthcare, analytics, finance, bookkeeping, where this can really improve your financial standing through joint ventures and partnering up with somebody else. Okay, so sharing resources, working with another, that's something to look for there. Venus is going to retrograde in Aries in your 2nd house, and so that's going to be a time to reevaluate your creative business ventures and the possessions you have, your own personal self-values, how much you charge, how much you think you're worth, how much, what you want money for, again, is a theme coming up for you. Not taking risks during creative ventures during this time, but really thinking about them and considering how you want to shift them up, and then allowing Venus to move direct is how you play that. Because what kind of wants to come through here is a new business launch during a new moon solar eclipse for some of you guys. You just don't want to do it on the day of the eclipse. And so a solar eclipse in your 2nd house for some of you talks about a new beginning in finances, in which some of you might want to launch a creative project that you've been thinking about during the Venus retrograde, especially if it relates to personal income, technology, entertainment, putting yourself out there, maybe getting into a sales role or position. But it really requires thorough planning and a clear financial strategy in order to be successful. So you can use this energy to launch new ventures in something creative, especially if it has potential for long-term financial gain, and if it's especially something cardinal like a startup or something being launched. Okay, now Neptune is going to join Aries in the 2nd house, and that can talk about unconventional ways of raising money, getting support from the community, or working in, or maybe even getting involved in nonprofits. Be careful, because Neptune influence can make things a little bit unrealistic, and in some cases Neptune can dissolve or obscure where our money is coming from, or what, or where our money even is. So just make sure you're aware of where all your money is. If you have, let's say, 7 credit cards, how can we consolidate that? Or a variety of bank accounts or money in different places, maybe we want to consolidate that, because Neptune being in Aries for quite some time can be something that needs adjusted to. And what's useful is that you'll have Saturn in Aries as well, but Saturn will eventually leave Aries while Neptune is still there. So while Saturn is in Aries, you want to use that energy, because Neptune can make things foggy and Saturn can clear up the fog. You want to use the energy of Saturn to emphasize financial discipline and long-term planning. So this is going to be a time to establish education funds or start saving, so that if you get into any Neptunian issues with your money later, you've had some money saved away. Okay, so setting up trust funds, investment portfolios, or saving plans for children's education, because Aries is related to children, or creative ventures can actually help offer long-term security for many of you. Now, Jupiter is going to be in Cancer in the 5th this June, and that can really expand the potential for speculative investments and creative ventures. You might also receive benefits from inheritances or joint ventures tied to family or children as well. This is again talking about it being a good period from the middle of June to the middle of 2026 to focus on legacy planning, inheritance investments, or financial strategies for your children's future if you have children, or for your projects or businesses or your portfolio if you don't have children, or if you have those in children. Focus on how Jupiter's expansive energy wants to support those speculations, those hobbies, the things that you care about, from anything creative or family-based as well in your life. Uranus in Gemini in your 4th is going to bring innovation and unexpected changes to family wealth, real estate, or home-related investments. So you might explore technology-based real estate investments or shared property ownership that leverages new advancements in smart homes, eco-friendly development, solar power, bringing more technology into basically making life better that can also be disruptive because the tech is new, whether that's drones or robots, you're trying to live like the Jetsons. It's a 90s cartoon show. That mix up, just be able to be flexible with the changes or the new advances that come through. They can be unexpected changes that really benefit you, but also challenge you, particularly if these changes are being initiated from other family members. So just be allowing yourself to be flexible with that. And this can also look like changes in the value of real estate. So sudden changes in family wealth or property value can open up new opportunities for financial growth. Hopefully this means stuff that you own is going on to the upside, but Uranus is volatile. So in some cases, if you're hoping for your property value to go up, it might even go down. So just be aware of the volatility that can come with Uranus in the fourth house for the remainder of the decade. Full moon eclipse is going to be in Virgo in your seventh house, and that brings partnership-driven career changes or promotions that can enhance financial stability. Do leadership roles, health and finance, or analytics. Something wants to come to fruition or kind of debut itself there. So if there are any opportunities through a partner that allow you to join an established institution or work with professionals in finance or healthcare, go for it. Your ability to negotiate favorable terms will be good during this time. And new beginnings towards the end of September will be possible as well, initiated by you. So definitely go for that and be allowing yourself to actually step forward and not being, passive in terms of taking action here. Pluto's in Aquarius. It's been in the older sibling house of Capricorn for quite some time. And now, as it relates to long-term goals and dreams, this is about enlightening you, okay? In the 12th house, it's going to have a transformative effect and giving you the superpower to actually focus on things like inheritances or property or faraway places, properties and real estate as well. And for some of you Pisces, that's something that you can really bring long-term stable wealth from and incorporate depending on how Pluto is impacting your chart. You can book a session with me to look into that. And of course, you can check out my 2025 yearly report that covers stocks, ETFs, sectors that are likely to do well, which ones aren't likely to do well during certain times of the year based on financial astrology. With that, be well. One love to you. It's looking like a good year. Take care of yourselves and peace.
Hey Pisces, it is Kira Sutherland, and I have the great pleasure of doing the 2025 health astrology for the year. So we are doing Pisces, and what a year! I'm kind of excited for you in a lot of ways because I think there's well, as you would know, there's an ending of quite a few cycles for you, or finishing up, tidying things up. And I think that's pretty special. I feel like you've had to do a lot of work over the last couple years, and you get to shift from this and have a bit of a pause and a rest, which I really like. So first, I'm going to say, we have, for everybody, we have Pluto January 1st, finally moving from Capricorn to Aquarius. And again, you're a mutable sign. This is cardinal to fixed. Everything affects everybody, but this is just a nice shifting energy for you. But for all of us, we need to really watch how we're nourishing both our circulation and our nervous system. Aquarius is kind of that higher end of our nervous system and the electrics and how we create energy. And that's going to be, Pluto moving into there. It's a slow turning up the amps. So just making sure we're arriving at the new year well rested is going to make a difference. And then on top of that, on the same day, we have Mars retrograding January 1st in Leo, but it is going to go back towards Cancer. So Mars is action and energy. It is infection, inflammation, acute ailments. it is a little bit to do with the immune system. Now, I know Pisces, Neptune is immune system, but so is Mars, because Mars is like our warrior and our immune system is in there fighting for us. So with Mars going retro, especially for the Northern Hemisphere, middle of winter, Pisces, not the world's strongest immune system, as you already know. It's just a reminder with Mars retrograding for the first 6 weeks of 2025 that we need to be gentle and not push our energy levels. We need to support our immune system, be it with vitamin C rich foods, zinc foods, or supplements. But again, always check supplements to medication if you're on medication. I want you to start as dreamy Pisces and not over push those first 6 weeks. It's a great time to think about how you use your energy, what sports you do, and moving forward, February, when it moves forward, really getting into a better rhythm of how you are taking care of yourself on that physical level and doing sport or energy. I hope that makes sense. So those are the two big things that are happening right at that beginning. But the big ones for you especially is there's the 3 retrogrades, Mercury retrogrades, sorry. The first Mercury retrograde happening March, April, is actually happening from Aries to Pisces. So with each retrograde happening this year, I really want you to kind of stop, reset. It's like rebooting the computer. Take some time, rest, and really support the nervous system. Mercury is all about the nervous system. So doing some breathing exercises, doing some discharging of energy in nature, grounding ourselves, remembering we're in a physical body, Pisces, and just use those retrogrades as a real reboot, especially the Aries to Pisces one, which is March to April. But the big things for you, Saturn has been hanging out in Pisces for quite a while, and in middle May 23rd, middle end, it's finally going to move into Aries for a while. It is going to have a little trip back, but it is moving forward into Aries, and I think this is going to be beautiful for you. You've had, Saturn is a little bit like having the brakes on all the time, energy wise, and it's about chronic illness. It's cold, but it also brings us form and structure. So while Saturn is still in your sign, I really want you to think about, for the first almost half of this year, how do you do your form and structure and take care of yourself and find your strength? And, Saturn is about rest in some ways. It's the traditional ruler of sleep. So how can you nourish yourself while Saturn is there and not overly push forward? Because I think once it finally moves into Aries, it's like the feel is like you're taking off a really heavy coat and you're going to feel lighter, more jovial. Saturn can bring a bit of melancholy, and that can be hard for a Pisces because you're so sensitive with everything. So if we're feeling overly, just heavy and down, some of my favorite things are the herbs. And again, if you're on medications, please check this with things, but saffron, magnolia, there's a beautiful herb called ziziphus that are all fabulous, whether it's teas or tablets, just to kind of lift the mood and how we're feeling. Saffron and zinc is one of my favorite capsules that I often take when everything's just feeling a bit hard for that lifting. Again, please check saffron with any medication, although it rarely interacts, luckily. And using some brighter colors for you, using those lifting yellows, oranges, and reds, be it by foods, be it by clothes, sheets that you sleep under, really working with that energetic side of who you are. And also, with Saturn and Pisces, this has given you hopefully some better boundaries over the last couple of years. So really making sure you take the time to write down how well you have created boundaries and what you're happy that you've created boundaries about over the last couple years, and remembering to hold that as things move forward. Now, the other big one is Neptune, your modern ruler per se, has been in Pisces for a long time, and it is going to have a little trip into Aries and then come back to Pisces. So January to the very end of March, still in Pisces. Then it hits Aries from March 30th till about October 22nd. And again, use the end of this beautiful, party that or hangout that you've gotten to have with Neptune in your natural sign. Do your beautiful, creative, intuitive things, but support the immune system. Yeah, support your lymphatics. Teas are great. Again, I talked about zinc and vitamin C foods. Herbs I really love are things like elder, flower or berry. What else do I love for Pisces? Echinacea is one of my favorites for you. Again, please check these. I'm not your practitioner. Check with a health practitioner. So yeah, nourishing the lymphatics and the immune. Garlic and turmeric is fabulous. But then when it moves into Aries, this is a shift, right? And again, it's like, I feel like you're going to just be a lot clearer, or there's just going to be a different way you're able to use your energy. And I'm quite excited for that. I mean, we have a big conjunction of Saturn with Neptune at the very end of Pisces. And or later in the year, I can't even remember what day that is, but you can look it up. Saturn, Neptune conjunct in Pisces, February 19th. And that's a big one. That's like, I want you, again, that nourishing before that Feb 19th. And then really, I feel like it's going to bring some clarity to then move forward after that transit. Once Neptune is in Aries, I think you're going to feel like you have a lot more energy. Neptune can kind of be a leaking of energy. So really enjoy the second half of the year where the energy is going to kind of amperage up a little bit. Plus, when Uranus hits Gemini, I think we're all going to feel like we've been plugged into a light socket a little bit. Last but not least, the nodes are moving in to not Aries. They're moving out of Aries. North node is moving out of Aries into Pisces. South node into Virgo. So that means the eclipses are also going to be mainly happening in your signs, although North node in your sign, South in Virgo. So the North node going through is amazing. And again, you've had all these other energies happening. And as they move off, then this North node comes in. And I love, in medical astrology, I often get clients, whether they're having big health issues or not, I get them to work on their North node, on the energetic, spiritual, what are we supposed to be moving towards? Because I find if we work on our North node energy, our whole physical body comes into better alignment because we're vibrating on a level that our body feels good. So when health stuff comes up, when emotional stuff comes up, go back and reread kind of North Node in Pisces or North Node in whatever house you actually have it in, and be working on that. It's probably a good time to start working on it, as the year ends so that you're ready for when the nodes swap. Because it's a powerful time, that year and a half year and a half of the node in your sign and the changes that are going to come. I'm really excited for that. I'm excited for your year. I think it's a big change year. It's like, if I check in on it visually, it's like you're changing all the clothes you're wearing. Yeah, not just the jacket or the top. It's like the underwear is getting changed, you're changing the socks, everything is having a bit of a shift. And I think you really need to enjoy the chameleon nature of that, but definitely pick what clothes you want to change into. Okay, hope that all made sense. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I'll see you later, Pisces.
Hey Pisces, it's Tiffany Harelik, and I'm here to give you your 2025 spiritual development forecast. So before we get going, I want you to hop down into the description box and click on the 2025 spiritual development forecast, the horoscope PDF. That way you'll be able to follow along throughout the year and in this presentation today. So while you are getting that downloaded, let me give you a little bit more information about the numerology. In spiritual development, it's really fun to overlay the numerology on top of the astrology because there's themes and patterns, and it's like the supportive tool to help other aspects of the astrology come to life, right? So 2025 is a 9-year. Numerology breaks our life cycles down into 9-year cycles, and so this is kind of a culmination or an ending. It's a harvest year. So what are the seeds that you have planted over the last 9 years? And you are seeing the fruits from your labors over the last 9 years. It's a year of integration. It's a year when we're going to see beginnings within endings, pathways within pathways. And this is a year when a lot of people are just, shedding their skins and turning into this new chapter, this new season, leaning in, a fresh start, but it's going to come with some endings, tidying up loose ends, putting something to bed, putting something to rest. So with that, let's go ahead and I'll get my screen share going. And hopefully you've had a second to download your PDF. One last little bit of housekeeping duties here. Please use the code Stormie 2025 and you'll get $10 off the Wise Skies Digital Astrology Calendar. This product, I've been writing it for the last 8 years. It is one of my favorite, every year is my favorite year, but this year I added some of the fixed star nuances. It has all of the eclipse information, retrogrades. It is a digital astrology calendar that goes right in your device, wherever you are, whatever device you use, your phone, your laptop, your iPad, whatever it is that you're using, and it will travel with you in any time zone. So it's a really cool tool to be able to access the astrology right in your back pocket. And let the universe have your back. Use the code Stormie 2025 and that we will get that delivered to you. Okay, so Pisces, what we're going to do today is a quick overview of the planets in spiritual development. We're going to look at each quarter and give you a special theme to focus on each quarter. And then we're going to look at your major theme for 2025, which is kind of a plot twist, not that surprising, and super exciting. So I am really excited for the year ahead for you. So let's jump in. All right, so normally we think about Mercury in terms of communication, sharing ideas and information exchanges, the way that we think, right? But in terms of spiritual development, I want you to consider how Mercury represents the nervous system. The nervous system, right? If you are biochemically neutral, if you are calm and centered, you're making good decisions, you're checking in with your mentors, you have proper sleep, your brain is functioning in a healthy way, you're good. But if you are in fight, flight, fright, or freeze, and your nervous system is a little tweaked out, right? The quality of your decisions changes, and then your mindset changes too, right? So Mercury is an important planet to look at when we are trying to study ourselves and evolve ourselves spiritually. Venus represents how we spend and receive our energy, our heart space, right? With this precious human life. Mars is a great planet to look at if you want to write your spiritual mission statement. Get with your astrologer and learn more about your natal Mars. And then Jupiter represents our great faith. Saturn represents our discipline. Uranus represents our spiritual network and the kinds of people that we put ourselves around to hold us accountable and propel us forward on our spiritual journey. Neptune shows us what needs to dissolve into the mystic, right? It's like the ocean. It brings up a gift from the sea, but it also takes something back out into the mystic. Pluto is that buried treasure, that subconscious gold, the thoughts that we can't quite access, or the motivation or the drivers that are kind of behind the seat that are really the reason that we're doing the things that we're doing. It's that subconscious part of ourselves, right? Pluto represents transformation and change, regeneration. It's the phoenix rising, and it's where you have your redemption story, honestly. Chiron represents the master healer. So Chiron shows us what we need in our medicine bag to overcome our greatest trauma, drama, life's challenges, right? And we get those tools along the way, and then we use those tools to help other people that are enduring the same kind of challenges that we have had on our own spiritual path. The moon shows us about our intuition, our psychic abilities, our psychic development. We were all born wise, especially you, Pisces, right? You intuitive soul, you. I see you, Pisces. If you are wanting to learn more about your psychic abilities and how you uniquely receive information from the universe, I want you to check out a product I have called 40 Days of Spirit. It's an email product, and you'll get one email a day for 40 days with tools and strategies to develop your skills, your psychic skills. Okay, after the moon comes the nodes. And so the nodes represent, of course, the evolution of our soul. The north node is like the head of the dragon that's eating and chewing and digesting and embracing and bringing in, right? And then the south node represents the tail of the dragon with things we need to eliminate and to recycle back into the universe. So in 2025, Pluto's staying the same for a while, but 4 outer planets are changing, and that's a major change. It's going to create a different texture in spring and summer, and you're going to feel this all year long. It's just going to be a different year. It's going to be a year like we haven't experienced yet. So for you, Pisces, in this first quarter of the year, yes, there is a focus on finances. This is because of the eclipses, but all along the way, there's another important theme that is in the tapestry of your year, right? And this is going to be your psychic development, okay? And here's why. The nodes are they're shifting from Aries, Libra, me, we, into your sign, right? Into the Virgo Pisces continuum or the Virgo Pisces pipeline. And so the North Node's going to be in your sign, which is so special and so interesting for everybody, but especially you, right? And Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is the practical, realistic side. Pisces is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter, which is the spiritual, ethereal side. And so what we're embracing is all of your best themes for Pisces, right? And so we all want to incorporate more compassion, creativity, flow, spirituality, blending in with spirit, blending in with the mystic, forgiveness, of course, and just that dreamy quality, right? What we are trying to eliminate or let go of is all of the challenging sides of Virgo, which is overthinking, overanalyzing, being overly critical, nitpicking, overworking, and fading, right? Fade is fixing, arguing, defending, and explaining. And so if you find yourself trying to justify or fix, argue, defend, or explain, you have part of the rope. You're holding on to control. You're trying to manipulate the outcome. And we all do this because we have coping mechanisms that we haven't let go of, right? Our coping mechanisms kept us safe. Our coping mechanisms were a strategy that helped us to live life in a safe way, but we don't need them as adults as we are reparenting ourselves, right? In terms of spiritual development, you don't have to fade. You can reparent yourself. Okay, so for you, Pisces, this means, of course, the North Node is in your sign. This is a really profound 18-month period of spiritual and personal growth for you. You are really being called to step into your full potential as a Pisces. You are here in this precious human life as a Pisces this lifetime. This is a really profound, deep, interesting 18-month period for the North Node to go through your sun sign, right? So I want you to embrace your intuitive side and without making it weird, without like going down this a spiritual like bunny hole where you're wasting a lot of money or you're wasting a lot of training. I just want you to enjoy connecting softly into spirit, into your higher power, right? With the South Node in Virgo, something that you could focus on these 18 months is letting go of those habits that are where we get overly self-critical or we feel like, oh, we are going to beat ourselves up for procrastinating or for being lazy. You don't need that. What you do need to do is focus on health, right? And holistic health specifically. So mind, body, spirit, wellness. Okay, a defining moment of the year comes as Saturn is right next to Neptune in your sign. So depending on where your sun sign is, this could be very interesting and profound for you. Saturn is serious business, Neptune is spirituality, and they are they have a list of dualities here for you. They're completely different. And so when they're working together, right next to each other in the sky, spirituality becomes serious business. People are going to be leaning into their faith, leaning into their spiritual walk, untangling old belief systems, and really just leaning into that metaphysical side of life, that yearning to belong, right? That yearning to be, to feel chosen, and this idea that spirituality becomes very serious for people. And so just notice this, because these two planets we're going to track them. They're going to conjunct again in Aries of the following year. So there are some dualities to play with. The main takeaway here is integrating structure into your spiritual studies. Okay. Mars is retrograde as we start out the year. When Mars is retrograde, it acts like a mini Venus in the sky. It can feel like subdued. It can feel irritable, restless, discontent. Mars wants to go forward. It's being retrograde, and it's in fall in Cancer. And so it's just in this internal conflict position where the emotions aren't really sure how to navigate out through the body, through the mouth, right? And so you have the spiritual advantage. So if somebody is spilling out emotion sideways, you can see through that, and you can say, "Hey friend, it's not about the thing that you think you're mad at. Let's go deeper. What's underneath that?" It can help you focus your fire and your own emotional spilling if that's happening for you. And so it can help you learn more about yourself, right? And how you behave when you are triggered. They say when you squeeze an orange, orange juice comes out. So when you are squeezed, or when the tension is on, what happens? Do you erupt in anger? Do you hide away in your room? Do you give people the cold shoulder? How do you behave with spirit, with your creator? Do you ask for help and solutions? Do you try to control everything and do it yourself? Study yourself. This is spiritual development, right? So for you with this retrograde period, you might have some creative projects or even some romance that just kind of stops or loses energy, or just loses its steam. You can feel like your emotional needs aren't being met. And so this is a personal job. If I am unhappy, it is on me. It is not on you. If I am looking out there as like you are my problem, then I'm always going to have a problem. But if I am the problem, I can do something about that. I am the solution. So where did I set the ball rolling to get hurt feelings with my emotional needs not being met? Was I looking for bread at the hardware store? Was I hoping you would be somebody that you're not? Was I hoping you would change when you're not planning to? This is how you start to understand your own inner emotional world and your own needs, and then to reparent yourself through that. As Mars goes direct, Venus goes retrograde. Venus retrograde acts like a mini Mars. So we have two Mars balls in the sky. The retrograde helps us redo things. So reevaluate, resolve, recharge. What? Venus, matters of the heart, right? Love, money, our core values, our material possessions, our love languages, right? Some of you might be redeveloping or seeing your partner's love languages in a different way, or your children's love languages. This goes through Aries and Pisces, your sign. So here's some things to do. Reconnect with people that you love to hang out with. Review your finances. Part of your deal this quarter is budgeting, right? Financial sobriety, understanding where you have holes in your financial stream and your financial system, understanding where you've kind of been financially drunk and not wanted to look at the truth of your finances. This is a time to kind of sober up with your finances. What not to do is spend a bunch of money, make drastic changes to the way that you look, make huge, big, dramatic decisions around love and money. And of course, we don't want to fade ever, but especially right now, there can be some regrettable moments when you are fixing, arguing, defending, and explaining, right? So this is deeply personal for you because Venus is going retrograde through your sign. So you're going to have some serious self-reflection, particularly about you and how you present yourself in the world. You might be wanting to make some changes and edits to that. That's no problem. When Venus goes direct, right here, look, I have all the dates for you. You're going to feel more confident in who you are and where you stand in your relationships. And I feel like this would be a good time to work with your astrologer or with your spiritual advisor through some of those deeply personal themes. When Venus goes retrograde, so does Mercury. So Venus and Mercury are kind of traveling together backwards here through your sign, Pisces and then Aries. So we talked about Mercury in terms of the nervous system and the quality of decisions that we're making. When you are in freeze, How are your spending habits, right? When are you spending a lot? Are you spending nothing? When you are in fright, how are you connecting with others? What's your behavior like? Are you codependent? Are you avoidant attachment? Notice the quality of your nervous system and then how you are in all these different aspects of life, and study yourself. This is a huge year for you to redefine yourself, look at your self-image differently. This is a good time to be patient and loving and kind with yourself, forgive yourself for letting yourself off the hook at some level, seeking amends and changing behavior, right? So take time and go slow with your edits. You are undergoing a sacred reunification of yourself with yourself, right? Okay, so there's 2 eclipses in March, 2 again later in September. The first one is in the same sign as the last one. So the Virgo eclipses are a huge part of this year. And Virgo rules our health, our routine, the way that we serve in this world, our jobs. So there will absolutely be power surges and power outages when it comes to work. There might be disruptions in the supply chain. There might be too much work and everybody's busy and overwhelmed. There might be not enough work and people are freaking out about money. This is a reality check for work and health and routine. And this eclipse brings your relationships into focus, Pisces, and it's going to highlight where you need more balance in your relationships. This could be your business partner. This could be your lover. This could be somebody that you're really tight with, but this is a karmic relationship. And so I want you to expect revelations that help you clarify what you need from others and what you can offer in return. Just get clear, right? Just be honest with yourself. And it's time to release any relationship dynamics that are just not working for you. All right, this particular eclipse is part of a lunar family cycle that started back in September of 2023 and will culminate in December of 2025. So here are the dates and degrees if you want to study that with your astrologer. The next eclipse is March 29th. It's in 9 degrees of Aries, right? The Aries eclipses fire up quickly and then dissipate quickly. So there's speedy effects. So all of the eclipses, you may have your eclipse moment up to 90 days in advance, right? And so it may not be March 29th. It might be up to 90 days in advance that something fiery, hot, smoky charges up quickly and then dissipates quickly. And so you now have the advantage of knowing, oh yeah, okay, this is my eclipse moment. This makes sense. So yeah, it's a fire moon. And so you want to watch out for fire hazards. You want to have all of your safety cautions in place. You don't want to leave stuff plugged in at the house. You want to be cautious around heated moments. This is an eclipse where we see people making drastic decisions and changes that they may later regret, or it's just what the universe needed to do to put a pressure cooker on you to get you to jump off the diving board. So we see a lot of people quitting, leaving, changing locations. Like there can be a lot of big, huge decisions and uproar. And so we just want to make sure that if possible, you have time to sleep on these big, huge decisions. But I want you to know what you're looking for. That way, when some opportunity arises, you're like, aha, that's what I was waiting for. An example that I've given about this earlier is that so Google had called me for a job, right? And they made a job offer, and I was working for a campaign. I was working for music festival stuff, and I wasn't expecting a corporate gig. And they called, they made the offer, after the interview process. And I just said, thank you so much. Can I sleep on it? And they were like, no, people don't sleep on an offer from Google. And I was like, I do. So I did. I slept on it. I accepted it. They accepted me. It worked out fine. But my point is here, there's some kind of new financial opportunity that could strike up for you that you might have to answer quickly. You might have to answer more quickly than you want to. Don't pressure yourself, but know how you make decisions, right? Know your human design, know your astrology chart, know yourself, know how you make decisions with spirit. Don't make them on your own. Co-create, right? Ask for help with your higher power. Ask for your creator to help you and guide you into the decisions that are best for you. And that way, when they arise, you'll know and you'll be able to say like, yes, that's for me. So you might have to act quickly. Stay open to changes in your material world. Trust the new opportunities that are unfolding will unfold rapidly with ease and grace. And so, yeah, that's why this quarter, you're going to want to have your money stuff in order well before this eclipse hits. So budget, get a financial advisor, make a plan, stick to it. There's lots of reasons to do that this year, okay? And this new moon eclipse kicks off a new 2.5-year cycle that starts now and will culminate in June of 2027, which is a fascinating year to study in astrology. And this is something, these are the dates and degrees that you can study with your astrologer. Okay, at the end of the first quarter, Neptune is going to move into Aries. My friend Celeste Brooks helped with this title here, Fate and Free Will. So Neptune is fate. I have curly hair. Free will is Aries. I'm going to style it how I want. Sometimes I'm going to straighten it. Sometimes I'm going to tie it in a bun. Sometimes I'm going to wear a cowgirl hat. But the idea here is that there's fate. There's things that are planned for us. And then there's free will, what we do with them and how we do it. Neptune spends 12 to 14 years in a sign. It's been in Pisces, which is ethereal and spiritual and yoga. We saw the rise of yoga communities and yoga studios. We saw the rise of entertainment and just how crazy like things can get with the movies and music, right? But now it's moving from this beautiful water creative sign into hot and peppery and feisty Aries, right? And so Neptune dissolves and Aries starts something new. Aries is about the self. And so Neptune is going to fade away the ego and give you a new understanding of yourself. It's going to be an interesting, beautiful time in the history of self-development. So fate and free will for you, Pisces, this highlights your financial situation and your personal values. This is going to inspire you to make changes in how you manage your resources for the long term. You're going to reassess what you value the most and get rid of the stuff that isn't working for you. You're going to get more practical with your financial planning as you reach for your dreams because, you know, Neptune, it's your planet. It rules your sign. It's good for you. But there are challenging sides of Neptune that create delusion, illusion, and fantasy. And so you might have this like big, huge fantasy dream that is nowhere rooted and grounded in any sort of practical, tangible, step-by-step, real world process. So I want you to avoid illusions of instant wealth or instant success or something that's just this huge windfall situation. I want you to be practical and put a plan into motion and to live intentionally. Okay. For the next quarter, I want you to get creative. I want you to use your imagination in a positive way. And then I want you to root that imagination in those practical, grounded strategies that will help you achieve this vision. So it's faith without action does not work, right? We need the action part too. So Saturn is joining Neptune in Aries, right? And so the Saturn comes into play in May 25th. It'll be there through April of 2028. Saturn stays in one sign for a 2.5 to 3-year cycle, depending on the retrograde dates. Saturn is discipline, Aries is the self. So this is a period, a 2.5-year period where all of us are going to need more self-discipline. This could be with diet, money, love, food. It could be with any work. It could be with anything, right? But you're learning more about what the benefits of self-discipline are. Saturn is kind of like the granddad in the sky that has a military background, that is forward thinking, that has your future planned out for you, that has steps for your financial future. Saturn represents lines and walls and Sharpies, right? Like these, it's hard edges, right? Saturn is the border, Neptune is the river. Saturn, we need restrictions in order to know what we can create with. Saturn represents fears. In my lineage, it's face everything and rise. So it shows us where we need to face the music and where we need to rise to the occasion and where we need to overcome and not let our actions and be driven by fear, right? Saturn represents duties, where we have to grow up, where we have to mature, where we have to be responsible. It also rules bones, teeth, and structures, infrastructures. Okay, yep. And so this is why I'm thinking that we're going to have some new initiatives during this 3-year period when it comes to dentistry, optometry, chiropractic. Aries rules the face and the eyes and the ears and this whole section of medical astrology. Saturn rules our elders, our wise elders, and our elderly. And so I think that we are just going to continue to see booms in these industries. And for you, Pisces, yeah, you have these big, huge, beautiful dreams and visions, and you have hope and optimism, and you have a beautiful imagination of what's possible, but you have got to put a plan into place. That means you're going to have your self-discipline. Are you ready for your big ideas to pay off? Then you have got to work your plan. You may need an accountability buddy or a business strategy person to help you with this. You need to restructure your budget, and I want you to be ruthless, and then you're going to get some results. Okay. Jupiter is that benevolent, great cosmic magnifying glass that makes everything bigger, right? And Jupiter has been in Gemini, where it's been uncomfortable, information overload, propaganda, too much information, too much media stuff to discern through, right? It's moving into Cancer, where it's exalted. So this is a comfortable place for Jupiter. It was there previously if you want to study these dates and see what was going on in your life. And maybe there's some themes that are coming to your awareness around that. Jupiter is the guru, is God, is our creator, is our higher power. It's not that Jupiter is God. It represents our understanding of God and our creator and our higher power in our life, right? And so Jupiter represents religion and philosophy and our worldview and foreign languages and foreign cultures and foreign exchanges. It rules justice and the legislation, and it rules judges and juries and the fairness of life. It rules long journeys and travel and big wild horses, big animals. It rules publishing, right? The ability to get the word out in a big way to a large audience. Cancer is about the home, the nest, the roots, the refuge, the place where we can come relax. Cancer represents intuition. It represents cooking and nursing and emotional intelligence. And so we're going to see themes during this period with where there's real estate expansion, of course, growing our kitchens. Cancer rules the kitchen gadgets, things like this. Family growth. Some of us will have an increase in our family, and some of us will spend time studying our intuitive abilities. So Jupiter is faith, Cancer is family. So faith and family are going to be a big ticket in the media and also in our personal lives, a big focus there. For you, Pisces, this is where you're having a creative streak. And so I'm going to ask you to challenge yourself to blend your big, beautiful, creative ideas with your spirituality, with your spiritual practice, with your tradition of your lineage, your religion, all of that. I want you to co-create with some project or product that's wanting to happen through you. I want you to co-create with your higher power, the source that you believe in, the intelligence system that is smarter and all-knowing, right? That has the ability to restore us to sanity. And I want you to engage with that being, that higher power, to co-create something that's wanting to happen through you. That's how you're going to blend creativity with spirituality. And don't be afraid to talk about your faith. People need it the whole year, right? We were talking about Saturn and Neptune. Spirituality is serious business. People need it. Don't be afraid to talk about your spiritual testimony, your faith, the synchronicities, the miracles that you've experienced, your connection with spirit, all of that. Just embrace it and share your experience, strength, and hope. So, yeah. All right, so Mercury will retrograde in Leo, so fire sign Leo. For you, this is going to go through your health and routine sector. And so this is going to give you an opportunity to do a health reset and a routine reset. So if you need to kind of get back on track with a different type of a schedule in the summer, this is going to help you. And Mercury retrograde issues apply. Of course, there will be miscommunications and delays. And so being clear and repeating what people say, like, here's what I heard you say, this is what I think you're expecting of me, and here's my plan to execute this. Is this right? These are things that will be helpful, just ironing out some of the communication glitches. Leave space in your schedule for disruptions, and do any kind of routine maintenance with your house or your vehicle or your tech, right? Okay, as we look at July through September, there's going to be an interesting shift for you, Pisces, where you might have some non-traditional things going on with your house, with your family, with the way that you live your day-to-day life. All right, so let's check this section out. So Uranus, right? Uranus is the planet that represents that, like, Einstein, brilliant, unconventional, radical, rebel, inventive energy in the sky. And it's been in Taurus. Earth, body, material things, possessions, right? Sensuality, food, finances, senses. And so Uranus has been creating shock and awe and the Great Awakener with all of those categories for the last 7 years. It's now moving into Gemini, which is very different than Taurus, right? Gemini is an air sign. It rules hands and wrists and shoulders and lungs. It rules our information systems. It rules public schools. It rules our public transportation. It rules the postal system. It rules the way that we get the news out. And so Uranus is going to really change things up with the way that we receive information. I don't know how it's going to look like, but those are the themes, right? And it's there for a pretty long time. So the last time Uranus was in Gemini, the United States went to war. Every time the Uranus has been in Gemini, right? And so these are themes of that we saw last time Uranus was in Gemini in history. You can see some of the themes here. So yeah, maybe we'll see some drones, some solar flares, some educational reform, some innovative medicine when it comes to the parts that Gemini rules, genetics, space communication, electric self-driving cars, and extreme weather. Those are going to be the big themes. What does that mean for you, Pisces, right? This is where I'm thinking like you're going to have to get, or it will be fun to get creative with your home. Are you blending a really unique family situation? Are you living with friends? Are you on some kind of communal property? Are you doing some traveling? Are you making your home and a office space in your home so that you can share information? Are you moving or renovating or changing your home? Are you embracing some kind of non-traditional family role that pushes you out of your comfort zone a little bit? The more you can embrace change at home, the more opportunities for growth are going to present themselves for you. So this is like a catalyst for change when you allow your home and your nest to undergo some kind of interesting, curious change, right? So just stay curious about what's wanting to happen through you. All right, the eclipse is here. There's 2 here in September to round out the eclipse season. Again, you might have your eclipse moment 90 days in advance. This one's in your sign, right? So the eclipses in Pisces tend to be watery, drowsy, slower, disintegrating, rainy, wet, right? The Pisces eclipse in 2024, the last one, we saw water in the news. There was a boil water notice. We had a pool evacuation. We had pipes burst in a pool that had to close. I had a friend that had mold in her home. There was a bridge that broke. There's water news. So this isn't to predict bad things, but whatever is shaky will break, right? The water will flood through. And so we want to allow something to fall apart, especially if it's not working, especially if it's not built on solid ground. So this eclipse is highly personal to you. Emotions are going to be charged. You can feel a sense of intensity with it, but you can also expect really big, deep, huge revelations about who you are, how you shine in this world. So I want you to be willing to disintegrate, or Pisces, like let go into the mist, any parts of yourself that really aren't in alignment with who you're becoming, and start to trust in your spiritual growth. This lunar family story started back in March of 2024. You're getting more information right now in September and the last quarter moon. So this will culminate in June of 2026. So this is part of a bigger story that's unfolding in your life. The last eclipse of the year is in Virgo, just like the first eclipse of the year. So yes, big themes around health, routine, too much work or not enough work. This is our wake-up call. This is our reality check. How well have we done? What are we measuring ourselves against? What was it like early in the year? How far have we come? 29 degrees, this is the anaretic degree. And so there can be a sense of frustration around like the pressure to make a decision. There can feel a sense of urgency with this one. For you, just like the first one, this is a focus on your relationships, your karmic partnerships, your business partnerships. And this eclipse will help encourage you to create new alliances, new collaborations, or make changes and adjustments to your existing partnership structures that is more beneficial for both people involved. So less codependent, more independent people supporting each other's vision and dreams and holding each other accountable and helping them on their path, right, of their own spiritual development. So yeah, set some intentions around getting balanced and having supportive connections with each other. So this one's a new moon, so it's going to start off a new 2.5-year cycle now that will culminate in December of 2027, which is a super interesting year to study in astrology. Okay. The last quarter of the year, Pisces, this one, you're going to shift your focus to work. So if you have set your finances up properly throughout the year, if you have worked your budget, worked your plan, leaned into your spiritual gifts, leaned into your psychic development, this is going to be an easier quarter to work with and to work your plan, to embrace like that side of you that has ambition, that wants to do something cool with this precious human life, right? So Mercury is retrograde all of November. This is going through your career sector, your reputation, what the world needs from you. Get with your astrologer and study about your midheaven. It's not about what you're supposed to do, it's about how you're supposed to do it. My midheaven is in Virgo, so it's less about what I'm supposed to do, but how I do it is done in a Virgo way. Bullet points, bite-sized pieces of information, data, health and wellness, being of service, right? You can see how my Virgo midheaven has come across even in just this short video. So what is your midheaven sign, and how can you learn something new about yourself during this retrograde period in terms of how you are intended to share your gifts in this world? Yeah, there can be some setbacks and delays and misperceptions at work. It could be a good time to circle back with old bosses, old places that you've worked before, have some nostalgia, have a reunion, circle back with an old work mentor, do something to reconnect with some aspect of work. You could be recreating or re-envisioning some of your travel plans. This isn't the right time to travel necessarily, unless you're going on a long journey to somewhere that you've already been, somewhere that you came from. If you're returning, right, that could be an okay time, but there are definitely delays associated with travel during this time. So just be careful and weigh your options. Okay, Pisces, your main theme, right, is psychic development. All right, so this may sound easy, but the North Node is in your sign, right? It's pulling you forward. It's calling you to embrace your spiritual ability. So I want you to surrender to the creative process that's trying to happen through you. I want you to understand about your own spiritual boundaries. I want you to set yourself up for success with protecting yourself, setting a spiritual armor over yourself as you go to sleep at night and as you wake up in the morning, and especially on airplanes. But I want you to embrace this side of yourself without making it so woo-woo and so weird and so special and so different. You have a beautiful gift that you can fine-tune this year like no other year. So I want you to let go of your ideas of how it was supposed to go this year, your control, your planning, your manipulation, because you didn't trust spirit at some point in your life because something happened. You didn't trust the adults in your life. You didn't trust spirit. You didn't trust God. And you decided at some point along the way to take control of your life. This is your coping mechanism. This is your coping style, your strategy. And this is the year to realize and to have the wake up call and to be like, I don't need to operate from that place anymore. I can really trust my higher power. So this will allow for really deep, profound spiritual shifts to occur. Maybe this is a year that you stop drinking or you stop sugar or you have some big, huge health reset. And that will also increase your intuition. Maybe this is a year when you reset your gut brain health access. That pathway is so important to psychic development. Maybe this is a year you study the anatomy of your intuition and how you uniquely receive your spiritual gifts. So I want to encourage you, and I want you to embrace this theme as something that is unfolding over time throughout the year, throughout your whole life. But specifically, this is a strong year for you to develop your abilities. Okay, guys, one last time, let me remind you of the code Stormie 2025. You can grab the digital astrology calendar in the links below and get a discount when you use code Stormie 2025. Let the universe have your back. You can just check out the astrology for the day or scroll ahead if you're planning travel or trips or dental appointments, or the best time to have meetings or ask for promotions, the best days for engaging in different activities, right? Like the astrology will help you know the flavor of the day. So yeah, grab your copy, use the code for a discount, check out, we have the journal as well. And yeah, if you enjoyed this today, let's stay connected. I am Tiffany Harelik. Don't forget your free horoscope PDF. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast. I send out a Friday forecast newsletter every Friday for the weekend. I have a spiritual development membership. I'd love to have you in our fold if I can help you develop your abilities and learn astrology better. I offer astrology for spiritual development students. I mentioned 40 Days of Spirit earlier. It's that cool email product that goes out every 24 hours for 40 days and gives you tools, techniques, and strategies to fine-tune your psychic gifts. And I offer retreats. So in 2024, we did Tulum and Austin. And in 2025, we're doing Santa Fe and Malibu. And I'm happy to come to you if you'd like to hire me for yoga and astrology retreats. So my final message, Pisces, is to love each other. We are called to love each other. It is as simple as that. You don't need to know astrology to expand your heart center and love each other. So guys, again, I'm Tiffany, and on behalf of the 2025 forecast team, we are so glad you're here. We are so honored to walk this path with you and share astrology with you. We hope that you have a beautiful year of prosperity, abundance, and love, and all good things are coming your way. And be sure you stick around the channel because we have more goodies coming out this year for you, and we would love to continue to support you on your journey. So thank you, Pisces. I hope you have the best year ever. And until next time, namaste.